Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tara Vaughn, in case you didn't know already. And I do want to apologize. I've been on a hiatus the last 2 months. I did come down with a bad case of COVID, which nearly wiped me out, mixed in with some winter depression, and I've been kind of hibernating in my little cocoon over here. But yeah, today I want to talk with you guys about the Idaho killings of the 4 students that were slayed recently in November of 2020. We're in 2023, so 2022. Unless you're living under a rock, I'm sure you've heard of this gruesome and murderous case. I think that the reason it has been such fascination with the public and has gone so big and widespread as it has is just because it's a very rare crime to happen in general. Number one, you have 4 young students who lived non-problematic lifestyles where that they would be more susceptible to such a crime. So it makes you wonder how something like this happened. And 4 people killed is highly, highly unheard of with the case of a stabbing. Usually it is used with a firearm of some sort to kill multiple people. It is unlikely, very rare to hear of somebody using a weapon such as a knife to stab and brutally murder in their sleep 4 young students. And I think we have this case all wrong, number one, because this past 2 weeks, I have seen more about the monster who did this, Brian Koberger, than I have heard about the actual students in their lives. I mean, I have seen a few different videos come up, and Dateline just did a special on it. Dived a little bit deeper into the 4 students' lives, which I really appreciated. One has to ask why somebody who held a PhD or was going and close to his PhD, I'm not sure which one it was, they really have to ask themselves what would motivate him to do such a thing. And it's very clear from the information I have personally gathered. Now, just a disclaimer, I'm no professional in this territory, in this genre. I am not a specialist in criminology, psychology, any of that. I do have a little bit of a psychology background, but nothing in this whole realm. What I have gained from the information I have retained is that he almost became obsessive with serial killers in general, especially those who were more famed and more widespread known. There was no sexual assault of any kind, so that wasn't a motive for these killings in particularly. Yeah, maybe he was bullied as a fat kid when he was a teenager. Maybe one of the girls declined him offering, a date or something. Or, talked down to him or whatever, belittled him even. That still wouldn't be a motive enough to kill 4 people. How we try to process that information, that us normal people are never going to be able to comprehend why something like this has happened. From what I have seen, I think that the reason he did this was because he wanted to be known. He wanted his name out there. He wanted to be remembered like the serial killers that he studied for all these years, where he knew that the news would plaster his name, his face, his every little inch and detail of his life. And sadly, when you look back on all these huge murder cases, you think of the monster who did it, not the victims. Like the Manson murders, I don't know any of those victims' names. Granted, it's not a case I ever really dug deep into. That might have been his ultimate motive to do such a thing, because it wasn't just 1 or 2 lives. He took 4 with no sexual assault motive behind that. I find very bizarre that it had to have been a different motive, which the only one I can conclude is being well known and his name everywhere. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm curious to know what the public is thinking for what his motive might have been. Also, I did want to speak on, there were 2 surviving roommates, young, 19 and 20 years old, that he did not kill in that house. And my heart is breaking for them because I can't imagine surviving such a thing, especially at such a young age. I have personal experience with death, as I've lost 2 family members myself in a tragic car accident years ago. And I was actually pretty young. I was 26 at the time, and nothing could have ever prepared me for the permanency of death at a young age like that, especially when I've never lost anyone before that, especially that close to me. It really messes with your head in ways. So I can't imagine, had it been due to these horrific circumstances, to lose not 2, but 4 close people in your life. I've seen a lot of blame go towards one of the surviving victims because she did witness him leaving that house. Now, I am also going to say, out of experience, in my early 20s, I rented out a house with my 2 best girlfriends, and eventually we had a guy friend move in as well, and we were roommates, and it was like party central, and it was the best time of my life. We've had some epic friggin' raging parties with kegs, the whole 9. Safe to say the landlord did not like us. And I think we stayed there about a year until our lease was up. He couldn't be any more thrilled to get us out of there. We ended up breaking the wraparound porch because we had so many people on it from a party we were having. Literally, it just like caved in. So I have definitely lived that life once upon a time. I'm old now. I'm in my late 30s, but I did live that party lifestyle. And when you're young and you live in a party house like that, people are in and out, all hours of the night. This girl who was a survivor, I don't want to speak her name because I know it's been circulated out there. I want to respect her privacy, and who knows if she ever wanted her name to be out there or her picture or face, but not having a choice, that really kind of sucks, This girl, she was only 19 years old, a surviving victim. Police report didn't really make her sound that great, like she was in fear for her life when she seen this masked man. The way they describe it isn't actually true to, I think, what happened. Number one, everyone's been wearing masks the last 3 years now? 2020, COVID started. So I'm assuming that Brian could have been wearing a COVID mask. Nowadays, I'm so attuned to seeing someone wearing them that I would never think that was like weird or something. Also, the murderer doesn't look like an old guy. He could have been company that one of the other roommates were having over, and he left after. Maybe she had an uneasy feeling. Keep in mind, she wasn't interviewed by the detectives until after she knew what had happened. The last thing your brain is going to think of as a 19-year-old is that 4 people were literally slayed in their bedrooms, in the house that you're in the middle of the night. I've seen so many people, so many comments on different videos blaming this girl. She must have had something to do with it. Are they out of their minds? What would ever make somebody think that? How rare it is to come across one crazy psychopath that wants to kill 4 people? Never mind a young 19-year-old girl who lives with them, right? Some of these comments are just horrific that I'm reading. Like, this young girl's going to live with the trauma of surviving such a freaking horrific crime. It really is unreal that people are putting any blame on this girl. There's nothing she could have done regardless beforehand. There was no saving them at that point. The next day, I believe that a lot of other people got confused. A 911 call was made saying that somebody was passed out, unconscious, I believe the report said. That call was made only because, yes, the girl, the roommate, the surviving victim, who woke up to such a horrific crime to find her roommates were slaughtered, ended up unconscious on the ground. Thankfully, someone else was there and was able to call 911 before they even knew what horrific scene was behind them. So I'm going to go ahead and read a comment I read off of YouTube, mind you. Here, it says, has a lot to explain, it says. If she heard screams from people dying that scared her, well, a truly scared girl would not open the door, and she did it 3 times. Well, she did it 3 times for a reason. Because she thought she heard something, muffled sounds, someone saying, I think someone's here. She was peeking out her door, seeing if anyone was there. Keep in mind, I think she was one of the younger ones out of this group of young adults, We don't know how long she had been in that house renting that room for. Maybe she felt it wasn't her place to say, hey, everything all right? Maybe they're having a fight, boyfriend and girlfriend issue. Who knows? She obviously didn't think what was occurring occurred, right? They also continued to write, if she didn't realize the horror was happening, why she got scared. Her story doesn't make sense at all. I literally have woken up during my party house nights. I've woken up in the morning to a living room filled and piled with people I didn't even know, crashed out on every foreseeable surface. Can't even make this up. When you live with a bunch of roommates, they have friends who have friends who have friends, and your house is known as a party house, especially when you're that age, you're going to have people crashing out all over the place. You're not even going to think twice to ask. Maybe you got a creepy vibe from them. So you go in your room, you shut the door, and mind your freaking business. That's kind of like the unspoken roommate rule when living in a house with a bunch of roommates from personal experience. And then someone else wrote, I agree, especially if he was standing there drenched in blood. This doesn't sound right. I mean, why wouldn't she just call the police? What did she do? Just shrug it off and go back to sleep? Well, let's see. It was 4:30 in the morning when these crimes occurred. It was very dark. I highly doubt she's seen him drenched in blood, okay? And I'm sure had she seen that, she would have called the police. So whoever this was that wrote that, no, I don't think she's seen him drenched in blood. If somebody was standing there as she claims, she wouldn't be alive today. He would have murdered her too because he wouldn't want a witness. Her story is not at all believable. I truly believe he didn't see her. I don't think that with the house layout, how it was, and there are YouTube videos that show the actual real house footage and floor plans, and it shows you where the bedrooms were and whose bedroom was where. He did not see her. I think she just cracked open the door, peeked out, and he had whizzed on by, walking out, and she just got this weird feeling, which could have been her intuition saying something might not be 100% right. Someone else wrote, she said that she didn't hear anything that would have concluded foul play. She didn't find out about the murders until the next morning, so she was terrified of a masked man that she didn't even call the police to help herself. Again with the mask. Could have been a medical COVID mask, and it probably was. I mean, we're living in 2023, you know. COVID is still going around because I just had it, so I know from personal experience that it's still here, guys, and you don't want it, and it's no fun. People are still wearing masks that wouldn't even ring off any bells anymore. Due to that, she slept a good wink and called friends over before calling the police. By the way, when the first 3 officers arrived, they reported the smell of blood was overwhelming from outside the home. She is only 19 years old. Most people don't know what an overwhelming smell of blood smells like either, right? That whole area where they lived was like party central, and it was a bunch of Idaho University students that lived in all these like surrounding houses and with, you know, multiple bedrooms in these units and stuff. So yeah, her friends were probably right next door, and she probably called them over wondering why no one was answering text or phone calls. Her own roommates, 3 of them, were not answering, and she hadn't seen anyone. So I'm sure that she called other friends over. But when she did go to investigate, that poor girl was met with a horrific scene that literally made her unconscious and pass out from it. You know, that tells you all you need to know about how she reacted to that, because there is a 911 call and she could not handle what she had just witnessed. DM slept, arose, and didn't notice a smell, called friends. Everything is off about DM. Not coming for you, just trying to understand like everyone else. There is nothing off about this young girl except that she has been badgered by social media and the public for literally surviving something she's very, very lucky to had survived. Because had he seen her, no doubt in my mind, he probably would have offed her. No doubt about it. There is a very high possibility that she is involved. This is the best one. They could have planted evidence. They could have cleaned up. Maybe she called friends to make sure their DNA in the scene does not look questionable. These are possibilities that definitely need to be considered. Dude, who are these people that think this? Who? I pray and hope that that poor young girl doesn't read these, because to have someone say this about you is just mind-blowing, actually. Like, come on, use critical thinking skills. Common sense, people. Please use common sense. No one deserves what had happened to them. And I hope that he is fully punished But I think that the biggest punishment for somebody like him is not speaking his name, not sharing his image. It should be all about the victims and only about the victims, because that monster's motive was to be well known. And exactly, when I go to speak about that monster, I go automatically to go say his name because that's all you've heard in the media, right? They should have never released his name, his image, anything, because it's giving him the satisfaction. It is getting him like his jollies off or something. It has to be, because it can be the only explanation for why someone would do something to such extremes. He became obsessed with being known, his image. And I think that the media and we all play a part in it because they've shared so much about this guy. It's been all about him from the very beginning. It needs to be about the victims only. If these serial killers and monsters think that they're going to be well known, cameras on them and offering interviews, oh, I'm sure he'll be wanting to be studied by psychologists and interviewed by journalists and all that whole shebang. We can't give it to him. That is what he was seeking all along. We cannot say his name. We cannot share his info, share his photo. He should be non-existent to everyone. Public, media, social media, everything should be wiped clean of that monster. We shouldn't give him what he was seeking. And unfortunately, we already did. Anyways, that's my take on this. I pray for the families and everyone who was friends with or associated with these 4 wonderful, kind young adults who didn't even really get a chance to start living life. It really is a heartbreaking story. I've teared up over it. I pray for their families to find peace and healing through this journey, which I know is not going to be easy. Anyways, guys, this was kind of just an off the top of my head video, nothing really planned out, kind of easing my way back into YouTube for this new beginning, new year of 2023. Please, I'm going to ask you, if you haven't already, if you could please subscribe to my channel. Help me out. I'd like to make videos. It's just hard to balance work and video content and all that whole fun stuff. So be really appreciative if you could like this video, subscribe to me, send me a comment, tell me what you like, what you don't like. Not everyone's going to agree with my opinions, and I'm 100% okay with that. I just ask that we all be respectful, and I'm open to agreeing to disagree. I'm open to debating different topics. So please just keep it kind below. That's all I'm asking. And yeah, give me a thumbs up. All right, guys. I hope everyone's taking care. And I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.